Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our English podcast. I'm Emma.
And I'm James. Today, we're diving into a topic that everyone thinks about, but sometimes struggles to talk about in English: money.
Yes, whether it's buying something, saving, spending, or even investing, money is part of daily life. And knowing how to talk about it in English is so useful.
In this episode, we'll practice everyday money conversations, teach you useful vocabulary, and give you examples you can use right away.
By the end, you'll be more confident talking about prices, shopping, saving, and even sharing your opinions about money in English.
So let's get started with part 1, everyday money phrases you need to know.
All right, let's begin with the basics. Phrases you'll hear and use almost every day when talking about money. Let's start with something simple. Asking about the price.
Yes. If you're shopping and you want to know how much something costs, you can say, "How much is this?" or "What's the price of this?" Very simple, very useful.
Exactly. Let's try a quick example. James, pretend I'm in a shop and I want to buy a t-shirt.
Sure, I'll be the shop assistant.
Excuse me, how much is this t-shirt?
It's $20.
Great. See how easy that is? Now, if you want to be more polite, you can add, "Could you tell me how much this is?" That sounds softer and friendlier.
And once you hear the price, you might want to react. For example, if it's too expensive, you can say, "That's too much for me," or "It's a little expensive." And if you like the price, you can say, "That's reasonable," or "That's a good deal."
Good phrases. Now, let's move to talking about paying. At the cashier, you can say, "I'd like to pay by card," or "Can I pay with cash?" These are very common.
Yes, and sometimes the cashier will ask you, "Would you like a receipt?" You can answer, "Yes, please," or "No, thanks."
All right, let's put it all together with a role play. I'll be the customer and James will be the cashier. Hi, how much is this bag?
It's $45.
That's a little expensive. Do you have a cheaper one?
Yes, this one is $30.
Perfect. I'll take it. Can I pay by card?
Of course. Would you like a receipt?
Yes, please. Thank you. And that's how you can handle everyday money conversations in shops, cafes, or markets.
Simple, useful, and very natural English. Practice these phrases and you'll never feel stuck when talking about money while shopping.
Great. Now, in part 2, we'll go a little deeper and talk about saving and spending habits. Okay, now that we've practiced basic shopping conversations, let's move on to another important part of money: saving and spending habits. This is something people often talk about with friends or family.
Right. You might hear someone say, "I'm trying to save money," or "I need to cut down on spending." These are common phrases when people want to be more careful with money.
Exactly. Saving money means putting money aside instead of spending it. For example, "I'm saving money to buy a new phone," or "We're saving for a holiday."
Good examples. And on the other hand, when someone spends money, they might say things like, "I spent too much last weekend," or "I always spend money on clothes."
Let's make this fun with a small conversation. James, I'll ask you about your saving and spending habits. James, do you usually save money or do you spend it quickly? Well, I try to save money, but sometimes I spend too much on eating out. I love restaurants. Oh, I know. Eating out can be expensive. For me, I save money by cooking at home, but I spend a lot on books and coffee.
That's a good point. Everyone has different spending habits. Some people spend on travel, others on clothes, gadgets, or hobbies.
And if you want to describe your habits in English, you can use phrases like, "I'm careful with money," or I'm a big spender. If you spend very little, you can even say, I'm a saver, or I'm frugal.
Yes, and here's another useful phrase. Living on a budget. This means trying not to spend too much money. For example, I'm living on a budget because I'm a student.
Let's do another role play to practice these expressions. I'll be myself, and James will be himself too. James, what are you saving for right now?
I'm saving money for a trip to Spain. But it's hard because I spend too much on food and going out.
That's interesting. I'm saving for new furniture. I'm careful with money, but sometimes I spend too much on coffee.
Haha, yes. Everyone has a weakness. But it's important to have a balance between saving and spending.
Exactly. That's a great point. So, when you talk about money in English, don't be afraid to share your habits. Use phrases like, I save money by, or I spend money on, and you'll sound more natural.
And remember, it's okay to spend sometimes, but learning how to save is also important, both in life and in English conversations.
Perfect. Now, in part 3, we'll talk about something bigger, money and the future. Things like investing, planning, and dreams. All right, so far we've talked about everyday money situations and habits. But money is not only about the present, it's also about the future. Many people think about saving for big goals, planning ahead, and even investing.
Yes, when you're learning English, it's helpful to know how to talk about your financial goals. For example, you can say, I'm saving for my education, or I want to buy a house in the future.
Exactly. You might also hear people say, I'm planning for retirement, which means saving money for when they stop working. Even if you're young, it's useful vocabulary to understand.
And of course, many people dream about financial freedom. That's when you have enough money to live comfortably without worrying too much.
Yes, let's share some examples. James, what's a money goal you have for the future?
I'd say my big goal is to save enough money to buy a house. Houses are expensive, so I need a good plan. I try to save a little every month.
That's a good one. For me, I want to invest in education. Courses, books, and training. I believe spending money on learning is the best investment.
That's smart. And speaking of investment, let's explain this word. Investing means putting your money into something with the hope of making more money later. For example, you can invest in stocks, real estate, or even your own business.
Yes, and even if you're not ready to invest yet, you can still practice talking about it in English. For example, I'd like to invest in real estate, or I think investing in education is important.
Let's do a quick role play about this. Emma, imagine you're asking me about my future money plans.
James, what do you want to do with your savings in the future?
I'd like to invest in real estate. I think buying property is a good way to build wealth.
That's interesting. For me, I want to invest in myself. I'd like to take courses, improve my skills, and maybe even start a small business.
That's great. See, money is not only for spending, it's a tool for building the future.
Exactly. And when you talk about your money goals in English, you can use phrases like, I'd like to, or I plan to. These are simple structures, but very powerful for speaking about the future.
Yes, here are a few examples. I plan to save for retirement. I'd like to invest in the stock market. I want to build an emergency fund. An emergency fund is money you save for unexpected situations like medical bills or car repairs.
That's an excellent phrase, and it's one that native speakers use often.
So think about your own life. What are your money goals for the future? Practice saying them in English. It's not only good for your speaking, but it also makes you reflect on your personal goals.
Beautifully said. Now, in part 4, we'll talk about cultural differences, how people in different countries talk about money and what it means to them. Now let's explore something really interesting: how people in different cultures talk about money. Money is universal, but the way we speak about it can be very different around the world.
Yes, for example, in some cultures, it's very normal to ask about money directly. People might ask, "How much do you earn?" or "How much did that cost?" And no one feels uncomfortable.
But in other cultures, like the UK or the US, asking about someone's salary is considered very private. If you ask directly, people might feel it's rude.
Exactly. Instead, people talk about money in a softer way. For example, instead of asking, "How much is your rent?" you might hear, "Is your apartment expensive?"
That's true. In my country, talking about saving money is common. People often share tips like, I save money by cooking at home, or I cut down on shopping to save more.
Interesting. In some Asian cultures, money conversations are often about family support. For example, children may save or send money to parents, and people talk about family financial responsibilities openly.
And then there's the idea of success. In some cultures, people show success by buying luxury items, cars, clothes, watches. And others, people show success by saving quietly and living simply.
Yes, very different mindsets. For English learners, it's good to know these differences so you don't feel surprised. For example, if someone in your country asks, "How much do you make?" it might feel normal. But in English speaking countries, you might want to answer in a general way, like, "I earn enough to live comfortably," or "I'm saving for my future."
Good advice. Let's practice a short role play about cultural differences. I'll ask you a direct question and you give a polite answer. James, how much money do you make every month?
That's a good question. I usually just say I earn enough to cover my needs and save a little. What about you, Emma?
Same here. I like to say I'm comfortable. It keeps the answer polite without giving exact numbers.
Perfect. So when you practice English, think about not only the vocabulary, but also the culture of how people talk about money. It can help you sound more natural and respectful.
That's right. And it makes conversations smoother. Sometimes it's not what you say, but how you say it.
Exactly. Okay, in part 5, we'll wrap up with some practical tips: how to improve your money vocabulary and practice conversations on your own.